What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Saved by the Code, where I discuss technologies rooted in computer code with the potential to save us from the corrupt fiat money regime. My name's Perry. If you like the content, give me a like, give me a subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. It really does help me out. And without any further delay, let's get to it. So, MicroStrategy is at it again. They just don't stop. MicroStrategy is a publicly traded company that will not stop buying Bitcoin. It's actually kind of crazy. They were the first publicly traded company to buy Bitcoin and make it public. This was back in September of 2020, I believe. And it kicked off the bull run, basically, of 2021. And they literally do not stop buying Bitcoin. It's actually absurd. And the way that they do it is they sell stock or they take out debt in order to buy Bitcoin. They leverage their assets and use trash fiat currency to purchase an actual currency like Bitcoin. And they just do not stop. It's actually insane. Their total Bitcoin holdings is 152,333 Bitcoin. They purchased $347 million worth of Bitcoin, 12,333 Bitcoin over the course of quarter two. I think it was from like March or April until June. And they just don't stop doing this. Like literally, they've just been doing this constantly over the years and have amassed over 150,000 Bitcoin at an average price of $29,668 per coin. And they're not going to stop. They show no signs of stopping. And why would they? Because Bitcoin is the best money ever to exist. And I mean, if Bitcoin goes to $100,000 or like $200,000 or $300,000, it's just going to be so absurd how rich this company is. I think this amount of Bitcoin is $4.5 billion of Bitcoin. So, I mean, that's a lot of money in and of itself. And they're barely in profit, but I mean, they're still like in profit like $200 million or something, even with the price at 30, only like $2,000 or $3,000 above where they bought it at. The average price, or it's like $1,000, and I mean that's the profit that you see when you have over $4 billion in Bitcoin and it goes up $1,000. It's just insane. Like they do not stop. Talk about having conviction, and yeah, it's just incredible. Says here, yeah, I mean, they just don't stop. They hold 0.726% of the total supply of Bitcoin. I think they may be the largest holder, maybe the second or third largest, maybe, I don't know. But they do not stop. It's amazing to see. They have such crazy conviction. Literal relentless accumulation is what it says here. And they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop. I mean, why would you? This guy, Michael Saylor, the CEO, he's just obsessed with Bitcoin, like, you know, Jack Dorsey and many others. And I mean, this is why Bitcoin, one of the reasons why Bitcoin just cannot be banned is because of how embedded it is now into our society. You know, corporations holding large amounts of it. Tesla still holds a lot of Bitcoin. There are Bitcoin politicians, you know, just regular people holding it. The size of the mining network, it's just unstoppable. It's really mind-blowing how this thing just cannot be stopped. And now we're seeing traditional finance players doing all this ETF stuff because they see the potential of it. They know how much money can be made, and they see the demand for it. And I mean, these firms filing for these ETFs aren't just doing it because for the good of the people. Like, they don't care about providing you with a financial instrument or providing you with financial freedom, all that. No, they want to make money, and they want to control the industry. And this is the only way that they know how to do it, is with these ETFs. Because if you can't beat them, you join them. I mean, banks and all these firms have been talking crap on Bitcoin for the past couple years, and all of a sudden now everyone wants an ETF and Bitcoin's the best thing ever. All the signs are there, folks. I mean, Bitcoin is going nowhere but up. It is literally taking over the world, and it couldn't be better positioned to increase significantly in price, as well as establish itself as a legitimate player in the financial world. And I truly believe that it will be some form of a global store of value to base other currencies off of. And I mean, it's already starting. We're seeing the beginnings of that, and it's only up from here. I mean, it's just every single day there are incredible stories of Bitcoin adoption and acceptance. And I mean, just 2 weeks ago, we saw the SEC going on a suing rampage, or 3 weeks ago. And then a couple of days later, BlackRock wants the ETF, and all these other firms want an ETF, and Bitcoin's the best thing ever. And the price goes up by like $2,000. It's so ridiculous, like how the market just doesn't respond to all this incredible news. But hey, that's good for us. It gives you time to accumulate more and more at these prices. But these are not going to hold forever, folks. I mean, when this ETF actually gets passed, the price is going to go up a lot. I mean, right here, Fidelity refiles for spot Bitcoin ETF, joining peer institutions. Yeah, I mean, there's just a slew of firms applying for this ETF. Everyone wants to be that first one. And then once one gets approved, other ones will get approved, and it's just going to cause a cascade. And I mean, what's the SEC doing? Like, there's no reviewing. They don't need to look at anything. Like, they're just delaying the inevitable. They know whenever they approve the ETF that the price will just skyrocket. So they're just like, maybe we should hold off on this for a little bit. They're going to take their good old time, though. And I would be appalled if they deny all of these again. Actually, I wouldn't be. What am I saying? That wouldn't surprise me in the least. At least, I mean, the BlackRock one would just a bit. But if they deny all of them, it wouldn't surprise me, honestly. It would make total logical sense in the clown world. Like, that would just be like, oh, just another day in the clown world. Just denying all ETFs by legitimate firms for a legitimate asset class that isn't just underground drug money anymore. So this one, Fidelity. So yeah, I mean, MicroStrategy is buying Bitcoin like a banshee. Fidelity refiling for spot Bitcoin ETF. Joining BlackRock and many others. ARK Investments, 21 shares. Invesco, Bitwise, all these, Wisdom Tree, whoever that is. I don't even know who those other ones are either. But a lot of people want this ETF. A lot of firms want it. They want the Bitcoin. They want the money. They want the ETF. And like I said, they're not doing this for you. They're not doing this for anybody but themselves to make money. And, I mean, is that surprising? No. But it's good for Bitcoin. It is. The exposure that it provides, the legitimacy that it provides, that's the thing that I mentioned in my last video that is preventing a lot of people from buying Bitcoin. They're hesitant because they think it's still underground drug money. And it's not this legitimate asset class. It's just a joke. Oh, Bitcoin, whatever. It uses all this energy and no use case and all that nonsense. So it's a beautiful thing to see. There's no deadlines on the ETF thing. It says here, we don't have any exact dates for any deadlines on ETFs. Don't even have a deadline for BlackRock. Let's see, this guy thinks this is the final date sometime in 2024. So it's a while off. But that's the SEC for you. They're just going to take their good old time because they just have so many documents to review, and it just takes months to do that. Just months to review a couple documents, and it's just total, clown world typical nonsense. Yeah, so Fidelity wants it as well, and many others. It's just, this is, like I mentioned in my last video, the timing of all this is just insane. Like, SEC goes on a suing rampage, suing Binance, Coinbase, and then, BlackRock wants an ETF, and now all these other firms want an ETF. Like, what is that? What is that timing? Like, it's just, and you know that these firms knew that this would spark another rally or like reinvigorate the Bitcoin space and completely flip it from bearish to bullish. It was all the suing and then the ETF stuff, and now it's back to bullish. And then also, I mentioned in my last video, BlackRock wants to use Coinbase as their custodian for the Bitcoin because they will have to actually own Bitcoin for this ETF. That's another reason why it's so significant, is that you actually have to hold the underlying asset. So BlackRock or whoever gets the ETF will have to hold Bitcoin for this ETF to be traded. It's called a physically settled ETF, physically backed ETF. So they'll actually have to hold the Bitcoin for this ETF. So that's why it's also significant. So it will spur massive buying, and not by just institutions, by regular people as well, because in their eyes, it's been legitimized by this ETF. Great stuff, beautiful stuff. This article is about, and like when these ETFs get passed, speaking of legitimizing the asset class, Bitcoin, this will allow, because that's preventing institutions from getting in as well, is like regulatory concern as well as legitimacy. Like, by this being legitimized, and I feel as though regulation will have to follow, because the US is they just won't provide regulation. And that's a huge concern for institutions. But once all that happens, the amount of money that will go in, and that's what this article is highlighting, is $4 trillion Bitcoin and Ethereum boom revealed by seasonal surge. And, they're saying prices of $200,000 of Bitcoin, $300,000 because of all this money waiting on the sidelines, for Bitcoin and crypto to be legitimized by things like this. And regulation that I think has to follow. Like, if you get an ETF passed, like, we need regulation now. Like, we should have had it years ago, but welcome to the clown world, folks. So yeah, I mean, the CEO of ARK Invest, Cathie Wood, she loves Bitcoin. They also filed for an ETF. She thinks Bitcoin's going to $1 million a coin someday. I totally believe that will happen. I don't think that will be for a long time. However, not even that long though, maybe 5-10 years. But I think we will see the $100,000, $200,000 price in the next run in 2024, 2025. With the halving coming up, with the ETF, if we get regulation, I mean, it's just the amount of bullishness for Bitcoin and crypto is just eye-watering. Beautiful stuff. I mean, this is, I for the life of me can't understand why someone wouldn't want to diversify into Bitcoin at this point. Like, I just don't know. I don't understand. I mean, everybody's situation is different. Everybody's reality is different. But it's literally screaming like, you make your own investment decisions, but not holding Bitcoin is a risk. It is a risk. What if you miss a massive price increase? What if Bitcoin goes to $200,000 and you didn't own any? You owned none. Because, Wanda down the street with her Facebook, I always talk about Wanda. Wanda's a good friend of mine. She's wonderful. She's working on her New York Times degree. She just got her Facebook degree and I think her YouTube degree. But, Wanda is always talking bad on Bitcoin. She says, New York Times said it uses a lot of energy, bad stuff. She saw a picture of a Bitcoin mine with a lot of smoky smog around it, an edited picture with all this smoke and smog, and the New York Times said it was bad. It uses a lot of energy. Sure, okay, and we got to stop it. It's going to burn the world down. And Wanda, I mean, she's got a Facebook and YouTube degree. I mean, that's pretty respectable. And she's working on a New York Times degree. So, I mean, Wanda knows her stuff, folks. And so, I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't believe Wanda. But all jokes aside, these are the reasons why people, and I mean, Wanda also says that, Bitcoin's used for buying drugs on the internet, and that's all it's good for. Is just using energy. It's going to burn the world down, and you can buy drugs with it. So don't buy it, because it's all it's good for. But these are the types of things that get talked about by people that don't do any research and just don't have any understanding of it, and listen to others that have no understanding of it. What are you going to do? But things like this, well, I mean, and you can say this to Wanda. You can be like, well, what about BlackRock filing for an ETF? It's legitimized. And I also saw an article that Bitcoin isn't even the preferred cryptocurrency to use for buying drugs anymore. So, you know what, Wanda? Go and take your Facebook degree and YouTube degree and put it where the sun don't shine. All right. Enough of that. Enough of Wanda. Let's move on here to Coinbase's response to the lawsuit against them from the SEC. They claim that it is an extraordinary abuse of due process. They want to dismiss the case, and they don't even have a legal valid claim, is what Coinbase says. Quote here, even if the SEC were correct, the assets and services it identifies are within the scope of its existing regulatory authority. This legal action must be dismissed on independent grounds that it violates Coinbase's due process rights and constitutes an extraordinary abuse of process. Yeah, I mean, the whole case is claiming that Coinbase is facilitating unregistered trading of securities. So, yeah, and I mean, the SEC can't even define what a security is. They base their laws off of laws from the 1930s. And, I mean, it's just all so absurd. But this is how the clown world works. In the clown world, this is rational, this is logical. So, makes sense. But, yeah, Coinbase thinks this is all malarkey. And I doubt it will get dismissed. However, they're right. I mean, the things that they say, it is a massive abuse of the process. I mean, this whole unregistered securities thing, basing all of this off of laws from the 1930s, it's just so mind-bogglingly ridiculous. Yeah, and I mean, Coinbase and all these other crypto companies have tried to, be legally operating, but the SEC literally doesn't provide them with any means of doing so. It's so pathetic and ridiculous, and hopefully it gets dismissed. I seriously doubt it, but we'll see. Next story here is that the Bitcoin-friendly app Damus, however you want to pronounce it, is not getting deplatformed. I mentioned this in my last video. This is a decentralized social media app that is just like everybody on there is obsessed with Bitcoin. And the reason why they were going to get banned from the app store was because of this tipping service. So you could tip others with Bitcoin through the Lightning Network. And they were going to ban them because of this, because it's considered selling content and just more insane stuff in the clown world. I mean, this makes total logical, rational sense in the clown world, but if you don't live in the clown world, it doesn't. And so they removed what's called the zaps, so you can't tip people anymore. So they kept the app on the App Store. Just another attempt to censor decentralized social media, just social media in general, just information. Try to censor Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies because Apple was just such a essential player in the fiat money regime. And so you take off your tipping feature, we'll let you stay. Okay, thanks, Apple. Really appreciate it. And It says here, Apple has come under fire from the Bitcoin community, among them the former Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey, with complaints that it's impeding Bitcoin adoption by imposing overly rigid guidelines when it comes to Bitcoin-friendly apps. The tech giant Apple said that it reviews all apps against the same set of guidelines. That's such nonsense, and it's not true. I mean, that's like one of the most important. It says here, the most important thing is that the concept of zaps exists, the whole tipping feature on this app. You can't do it now because Apple just can't let that happen. You can't tip people with Bitcoin. Not allowed. No, we'll take you down. You're not allowed. So they took it off, and now they're allowed to stay. Just ridiculous. I can't even. Once again, another just move to censor, cancel, control the world, whatever you want to call it. But unfortunate for them, Bitcoin's unstoppable. So, sorry, pal. Not going to really do much. It'll happen someday. We'll have a social media app that you can tip people in Bitcoin. It'll be great. It'll be wonderful. But not right now, because Apple's just got to be a stubborn little child, just like all these other large corporations that just can't handle Bitcoin, and that it is taking power away from them and empowering the individual. They don't like that. You can't do that. No freedom. That's not allowed. We get all the money and the power, not you. All right, next story here. Cardano, one of my favorite projects in the crypto space. Its total value locked has been increasing pretty significantly recently, meaning the amount of money locked into different protocols on the blockchain. It's been increasing, which is a great sign of growth. And it's also the most developed blockchain, or it's always up there in like the first or second place developed blockchain in the crypto space, which is just another reason why I'm a massive advocate for it, because there's a lot of just dead ghost blockchains that just don't get developed on very much. And development is like the heartbeat of a blockchain. Like it'll tell you, it's like the pulse. Like it'll just tell you if it's alive, if it's thriving, if there's interest in it. You know, if there's no development happening on it, it's not going to advance, it's not going to succeed. There's no interest in it, obviously. But Cardano, it just keeps on developing away. There's just so many articles from the past that state it's the top developed blockchain, most developed blockchain, yada da, surpasses Ethereum, this and that. So there's a lot of interest in developing on Cardano, and I think, this is going to result inevitably in a significant price increase, and this is one of the reasons why I'm such a huge advocate for it. This story here was from today. Vodafone opts for Cardano and NFT plans, snubbing Ethereum. So they chose Cardano, Vodafone, to put their NFTs on. And great, wonderful. And this is just reflective of, it's a superior blockchain to many others that are out there. It says here, as the network continues to evolve, it is beginning to attract greater real-world adoption and edge out competitors in some cases. It is Vodafone is one of the world's largest telecommunications company, and it's going to launch an NFT collection on the Cardano network. Not choosing Ethereum. They could have chosen Ethereum, like so many others out there, but they choose Cardano. Beautiful, wonderful, love to see it. The reason we chose, quote, this particular chain comes down to community sustainability as well as cross-chain possibilities. We are still in the early stages of this project, so everyone who is here now is already a super early supporter, and we appreciate that. Yeah, you go Vodafone. Cool. Go Cardano. Great stuff. Beautiful. Love it, love it, love it. And yeah, like I said, it is a superior blockchain. There is a reason why they chose it. Good stuff. Next story here. Tether, the leading stablecoin in the crypto space. A stablecoin being a cryptocurrency that is pegged to the dollar. It never moves, it never goes up, it never goes down. It's just pegged to the dollar. Well, it's not supposed to. It's always supposed to be worth $1. signed an agreement with the country of Georgia to develop Bitcoin and peer-to-peer infrastructure. I mean, this is just another story of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency adoption. It's just further illustrating how unstoppable Bitcoin is, how adoption's happening every single day, how it's advancing, how it's embedding itself into society. The signs are all there, folks. The signs are all there. Says here, overall, the partnership between Tether and the government of Georgia seeks to foster innovation, promote Georgia as a global leader in Bitcoin and peer-to-peer technologies, and attract companies and professionals to the country. This is going to continue happening. It's going to continue happening. The dominoes are going to continue falling. If you see what's going on here, folks, there's a lot of money to be made. A lot. And all you got to do is buy some crypto, buy some Bitcoin. Not financial advice. You make your own investment decisions, but all of these signs are there. All the signs are there. This is not going to stop happening. Going to continue happening, and yeah, it's a beautiful thing to see. Next story here: crypto offers Africans a lifeline from inflation and corruption. CEO of an exchange in Africa, yellow card. Crypto isn't the casino that it can sometimes feel like in the West. Yeah, in places like Africa, this is a lifeline because they do not have a currency. Their currency inflates into oblivion. Their savings get decimated. They get locked out of their banks. Yeah, and cryptocurrency and Bitcoin can provide a way out for them. Hope, freedom in places where they do not have the luxuries that we have in the West. Even though our banking system is absolute trash, theirs is literal burning, rotten trash. Like, it's so bad there, you can't even use, some places don't even have like money or like anything. They use like cell phone minutes to pay each other because their currency is such trash and it inflates so badly and it's so corrupt there. Says here, a quote, said, crypto in Africa is growing at the speed of light because it allows many Africans to escape from the traditional financial system's failures and transact more freely. Quote, crypto solves real world problems with banking and currencies on the continent, and it isn't the casino that it can feel like sometimes in the West. Yeah. Beautiful stuff to see. This is going to continue happening. Another sign, another just proof, further illustrating how crypto is taking over the world and that it actually has real use for people in places where they need it most. Just, yeah. Beautiful to see. I love seeing this stuff where people are actually being helped by cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. These are just heartwarming stories. You know, these people have nothing. They have nothing, no semblance of a banking system, anything, no money, nothing. They can't save money. They can't do anything because so corrupt and horrible politicians and policies and Next story here. North Carolina reps suggest adding Bitcoin gold to state treasury. Another example of adoption and showing how Bitcoin's unstoppable and it's being adopted and integrated into society every single day. This is going to continue happening. And before you know it, Bitcoin is just going to be everywhere. People are going to have it in their portfolio. It'll just be the standard, you know. Oh, you have gold and Bitcoin. Duh. Like, why wouldn't you own Bitcoin? Says here, the bill's Republican sponsors described it as an important step toward protecting the state's asset. That's crazy. They're literally considering putting Bitcoin in their reserves, in their treasury. Like, that's massive. That's huge. If it's approved in the Senate, it would need to be signed by the law by Governor Roy Cooper. So it's just a bill right now. It's not being passed. It's got a ways to go. However, the fact that this is even being considered is massive, is huge, is beautiful, is amazing. It's amazing. And this will continue happening. It's going to continue happening. Folks, this is your chance. Get in before this thing goes to the moon, Jupiter, Saturn, all that stuff. Part of the study would examine how the state could acquire digital assets and precious metals, hold them securely, and liquidate them. So they even recognize that it's a risk not to have any Bitcoin. The original bill was actually to do an appropriation to buy gold. As we started talking about, a lot of people just didn't know enough about that's why the study is starting first. So yeah, they've obviously considered Bitcoin as well, because they're like, whoa, we know it's a risk not to own any Bitcoin, so we better look into it. Next story here, just a bunch of whiny babies. Change the Code blasts Wall Street for propping up Bitcoin initiative. Change the Code is a Greenpeace-backed initiative that seeks to change Bitcoin's code because it just uses all this energy Bitcoin's using, hurting the climate. Just absolute uneducated nonsense from a bunch of whiny babies. That's exactly what this is. Quote, the climate movement has worked to hold financial institutions and banks accountable for their fossil fuel investments. Propping up and profiting from industries destroying our climate is unacceptable. Just such a bunch of nonsense. Little do they know, I'm sure they just ignore it. Bitcoin, the majority of the Bitcoin network operates on renewable energy. It pushes forward the renewable energy sector. Bitcoin mining is incentivized by renewable energy. It's always moving in that direction. They're just so mindless and just completely ignore all the other energy intensive things in this world. But Bitcoin is just the worst thing in the world. Like, once again, this whole energy argument is so dead in the water and just such uneducated nonsense, closed-minded, hypocritical, intellectually dishonest nonsense. There's just such whiny little babies. It's crazy. And they don't understand the reason why Bitcoin operates the way that it does on the proof of work algorithm. Consuming the energy is to secure the network is absolutely paramount to how Bitcoin operates and is the reason why it brings value to it. But they don't know that. They just want, change the code. It's all good. It'll still be Bitcoin. No, it won't be. It won't be as decentralized. It won't be as secure. And it wouldn't have the benefits that it actually does, because like I've mentioned in many videos, Bitcoin mining this is actually happening. It balances energy grids. It propels and it is providing investment and pushing forward the renewable energy sector. It's just a net good just because it consumes a lot of energy. They're just so closed-minded and mindless and just it's just so ridiculous. Just another example of a bunch of whiny, hypocritical, closed-minded, intellectually dishonest babies who just want to destroy Bitcoin because they didn't buy any, I guess. I don't know. I just love it. And all these massive Bitcoin operations keep opening up and expanding. They're just like, screw you. And I'm sure many of these people in this Change the Code organization, they drive cars, they fly planes, they consume energy, they produce trash. But Bitcoin, oh! Yeah, so just a bunch of nonsense, as usual in the clown world. What would you expect? Anything less? Next story here. Robert Kennedy Jr. promises to protect your right to use and hold Bitcoin as president. He loves Bitcoin. It's awesome. He's promised to ensure that your right to use and hold Bitcoin is inviolable if he's elected president. Bitcoin is not only a bulwark against totalitarianism and the manipulation of our money supply, it points the way toward a future in which government institutions are more transparent and more democratic. That is just beautiful. I love this guy. He has got my vote. Like 100%. I won't even question it. Even though he's Democratic, I am totally voting for this guy. Like, over who I usually vote for. I'm totally voting for him because he loves Bitcoin so much. And that is just like, because Bitcoin's freedom. And if you say things like this, you're a freedom advocate. Those that are against it just don't understand it or just aren't. They don't want you to empower the individual. Quote here, I support Bitcoin, which allows people to conduct transactions free from government interference. Bitcoin has been a lifesaver for people's movements around the world, especially in Burma. Yeah, this dude gets it. This dude freaking gets it. And I am voting him. Biden's proposed 30% tax on cryptocurrency mining is a bad idea. Yes, I love this guy. I want to marry him. I love you. So awesome to see. All right, folks, that does it for this video. But as always, before we close out here, gotta go to the greatest source of truth on the planet. Babylon B. Story right here. Democrats devastated. Supreme Court bans racism. Oh my gosh. No. Democrats in mourning today after the Supreme Court ruled that racism, discrimination in college admissions is unconstitutional. Yeah, apparently this whole, what's it called? Affirmative action or whatever. They can't, they can't provide preferential treatment to foreigners or colored people anymore. No, you know what? I mean, that was just so insane before. The fact that, ugh. And now you can't do that anymore. It's wonderful to see. Maybe some sense is finally coming back to the world, but I seriously doubt that. But yeah, great to see. And I'm sure, Democrats are freaking out. You're not going to let black people or foreigners, you're not going to give them preferential treatment in colleges over people that grew up here? Over white people? Oh, white people. Oh, God. Yeah. All right. That does it for this video, folks. Thank you for tuning in. I deeply appreciate you. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And until next time, I bid you farewell on the journey.